Hey again, it's Flo. I really wanted to talk today about the hookup culture that's happening in my city and people that are lonely. And I personally want to be in like a long-term relationship, maybe have kids, a wife, dogs, and how do I get there? I was personally intertwined in the hookup culture because, well, I don't want to say that's the reason, but I was working as a bartender for a long time, and when you live downtown Toronto, people are really trying to survive and work and maybe be somebody. And in order to do that, you have to put in a lot of hours and effort into your career. And I think people are less and less patient about getting to know somebody and building a connection over time. And so people tend to hook up. And it's a little bit easier with dating apps and that sort of stuff. And I have some friends that do talk about being lonely, and I have other friends who are in long term relationships. So I think I have a pretty interesting perspective on all fronts. I personally haven't been in a long term relationship in a long time. And how do you really define a long term relationship? I guess maybe if you date for over a year or two, that would be considered it. So I think that part of the reason that there's this huge hookup culture is because people are not patient anymore, and I don't blame them. I was part of that as well. I used to work 6, 7 days a week at a time, and I didn't have the patience or the time to get to know somebody. And when you're a bartender, and I'm talking to other servers and managers, people are pretty shallow. They talk about how a girl looks and they want to get their Instagram and sleep with them. And I was a part of that. I didn't have social media. I only got it recently. And I want to change that about myself. I want to think more about my future and what sort of life that I want. And so I started asking my friends that are in long term relationships. They've been with their spouse for 7 years, 10 years, and I would ask them questions like, how'd you do it? What's the secret? And what makes you think that it's worked out for this long? I had one friend who told me that she is super easygoing. When he's home, he feels comfortable, he feels that he doesn't have to fight. They've been together for 7 years and now they're getting married soon. I met another guy, or my other friend, he's been with his wife now for 15 years. So they met in high school. And I asked, why did you stay with her for so long? Not to attack him, but just to sort of figure out how he did it. And he told me that he felt that she was his other half. So everything that he liked, she was sort of the girl version of that. He liked listening to rock music and looking at interesting metal bands and going to concerts, and she also loved that. And they're very close with their families. He was close with his parents, his sisters, and so was she. So it all sort of made sense for them. And when I asked this question to a lot of different people, I actually got a different answer every time. And what I've noticed is that there's not really a one answer for these things. Everyone has their own journey, their own path, and it's not something I wanted to hear. I like to look at patterns, and I recognize patterns, and I think, well, there must be main reasons why they're able to stay together for so long. And I think personally, I was so into the hookup culture because of my environment. I live downtown. People that live downtown, they're really trying to make it and be somebody and work. And they're not thinking too much about family. And I get it. And so, in order for me to think more about family, I have to maybe remove myself from that environment and think a little bit more about maybe picking up hobbies and like running or biking and just being a little bit more wholesome instead of going out on Friday and Saturday nights and drinking and meeting other people who drink. I don't know if you can meet your long-term spouse that way. I don't know if the movies really make it out to be that way. Real life is a lot different. I think dating profiles help a lot as well in helping out the hookup culture because you have so many options. And personally, I think that was my experience. I still use dating profiles. I think it's a tool, so I feel like if you're going to meet somebody, like use every tool at your disposal. Um, Dating apps really made it easier to meet a lot of different people all at once. And you get to be a little bit more picky. And I think it works both ways depending on your intention. So if you intend to be in a long-term relationship, I'm sure you can find someone on the dating app and date them long-term. And I've seen it. And if you are thinking about hooking up, then you'll meet a lot of people who want to hook up. So it's really about your approach, I think. I'm not really giving advice, I'm just sort of thinking out loud. And hopefully I'll be able to narrow down how to have a long-term relationship, which is what I want. And the other issue is that a lot of people are lonely. I feel that a lot. I think it'd be a beautiful thing to be in a long-term relationship. And I think part of the reason why people are lonely is because people are stressed out. I think being in a relationship is the last thing on their mind. And, the economy and the culture and normal people that live their lives day to day, I think, are struggling for the most part. And so, why would you think about being in a long term relationship? I think that adds a little bit more on people's plates that they would want. So, I don't know. I'm really trying to figure it out, the secret. I think that if I continue to think about it, maybe I'll come up with some conclusion for myself. I would like to see my future in the next year, even, where I find the love of my life and we want to have kids and we think bigger and getting a house and a dog, and I think that would be a wonderful thing. I really want to work towards that. And I think maybe it comes down to a mind shift. You're thinking so long about just, I've been on a lot of dates, and majority of the girls that I went out with, they didn't want a long-term relationship, either with me or just at that time for whatever reason. And every time it happens, I get quite down on myself. I think, well, there's definitely something I did wrong, because it is kind of insane to date so many people and not be in a long-term relationship at this point. And I lose sleep overnight. I think sometimes it sucks. And the most that I can try to do is be hopeful and think about different ways to approach it. But how many different ways can I approach it when it hasn't been working? I mean, it's been over 30 years now. I'm 31 years old, and it's still something that has eluded me for the longest time. And it might have something to do with my personality. I do get attached and with the person that really likes me, and if I really like them back, maybe I'm a little bit too much. You know, the last girl that I was with, I got her a bouquet of flowers. I thought that would be nice. She did like it. She just didn't want to be in a long-term relationship. And, I was quite sad about it. And she told me, you don't need to waste your money on me. And I was telling her, well, if I like somebody, it's never a waste of money, whether it's going to work or not. And I don't know. My mind's like still sort of wrapped around this mystery of how do I date somebody long term? What do I have to do? And what can I really change about myself in terms of my mindset and my approach? And really, I wish I had a therapist. I never had one. Maybe that would help. But making these might help. Talking to you, to myself. And I think that it was a quote that actually Elon Musk said. I know he's a very controversial figure right now, but he talked about how a lot of reasons why you're not finding the right answers is because you're not asking the right questions. And as soon as you ask the right question, you can really, the answer comes easy because the question makes sense. So I always think maybe I'm not asking myself the right questions. So going back with the hookup culture that's happening in my city, I don't blame people. It's just there's a lot going on in people's lives, and it's just easy. I think that might be it too. It's just easy. A lot of people want to take the instant gratification route nowadays, and they want things now, and they don't want to think too much long term. Maybe even that term YOLO was part of it. You only live once. You only live once. So why not live it up? I mean, you can interpret it both ways. You only live once, so be healthy, be wholesome, have a family. Or you only live once, so I'm going to live it up and party. But maybe a lot of people took the latter approach. I don't know. It's something that I think about often. The hookup culture and people being lonely. And what's my goal now? And, I thought long and hard, and I thought, I do want a family now. I do want maybe a dog, maybe kids, And how do I go that path now when I haven't really been thinking about it for the last 30 years? I've definitely have thought about it, just not as intense. And for a long time, I was also trying to figure myself out. So why would I think about somebody else? It just doesn't make any sense. And right now, I have a lot of time to think. And I don't think thinking really gets me anywhere. I think I need to start doing stuff, taking action. No one really sits and ponders, and then life kind of goes their way. I think people need to take some action, and maybe speaking out loud will help. Because all I do is think about it in my head, and maybe it goes around in circles, my logic and my thought process. So I really wonder if people are struggling with the same struggles that I have. And that's something that I'm sure people are. I'm sure people are. There's 8 billion people on planet Earth, so I can't be the only one. Right? But all these issues are my biggest issues right now. And I think I need to be a little bit more, I don't want to say the word grateful, but grateful that I am able to live in a big city and have all my necessities covered. And I've worked a lot over the years to make sure that I'm comfortable at this point in my life. I obviously need to work more. So, I'm looking for a different job, trying to talk to different people and network. And that's a little bit hard too. But I don't want to digress. I really want to stay on the topic of dating and long-term relationships and why people hook up and why so many people are lonely. Looks matter a lot. I think in downtown Toronto, if you don't look good, then people don't notice you. And I find that quite sad because I also think that way. If a girl is not pretty, then I am just not attracted to them. And I would say I'm not the best looking guy either. But that's just sort of how my mind works. So I don't know what to take of that, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, or if that's normal. I don't know. I think that to be attracted to someone emotionally, spiritually, you also need to be physically attracted to them. So, for example, if I want a girl who's super fit, I think that if that's the type of woman that I want, I have to be super fit. I can't ask for something and not be the thing that I'm asking for. I think that I need to be whatever I want, I have to be that person as well. If I want someone to be loyal, whatever that definition is to other people, then I have to be loyal as well. So maybe that means not flirting with other girls. Maybe that means not texting and calling different girls. Whatever that means. If I want to be honest, if I want a girl who's honest, I have to be honest. I tend to do white lies once in a while. And I don't think that's a good thing if I want a girl who is honest. I think I have to be upfront and honest as well. So maybe that's part of the journey of being in a long term relationship. What do I want in a long term relationship? And how do I be that person? Maybe that's the key. So there's a lot of questions that I think about on this topic. I think I have some answers. Either way, this has helped. Talking about it, it's helped. I'd like to hear what other people think. What do you think about this? I don't know. Maybe I'll get a different perspective.